Welcome back to Another Thing. I'm Larry Menti. We continue our discussion now on net neutrality with Lisa Durden, who has a blog, My World, My Way. She is a pop culture and social media expert. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. This is an important conversation.
It is, and there's two distinct sides. There's a law enforcement side, as discussed by James Comey to Congress, saying that they need to be able to search on the internet more, not like you and I search. They need to be able to find out some information. And then there's the net neutrality people who say that the internet wants to be free and that there should be no government oversight over the internet. You are a net neutrality person?
Absolutely. Net neutrality is my middle name. Lisa Net Neutrality Durden. And I do think we should have total freedom on the internet, like we have freedom of speech in a normal conversation. It's the same way. It's a new way we're having a conversation. So I do think it's the same kind of civil rights. However, there's a fine line between breaking laws on the internet and having freedom of speech. So like things like bullying, if you're breaking a law and they can prove that you're bullying someone, like any other investigation, if you bully someone in school physically, then that would be similar on the internet. So there's that fine line, but net neutrality is exactly the way to go because it's a slippery slope now, isn't it? If you start to do what I call looking into somebody's internet communications and start making assumptions about them, that slippery slope can get into all the isms and all those issues, right? The whole driving while black, internet while black. Some things that women do.
So what you're getting at is that you are worried that law enforcement would profile certain people because they profile, they'd be looking for evidence rather than having
Correct.
evidence.
So looking like, law enforcement profiles people all the time. Like how you profile Muslims at the airport. Are you going to profile Muslims on the internet thinking that they have bombs, like without evidence? So I'm afraid of that kind of profiling thing because it's really a thing. And they're probably doing it anyway, unofficially. But I don't want legislation to be passed where they can legally now do that.
It's interesting you point this up because a couple police departments across the country got in trouble for just this thing when they were profiling people that were with the Black Lives Matter movement back when the violent protests were happening.
Right.
So this has already happened. But the FBI now, and they have been able to get an amendment to an appropriations bill where they would then have the ability to get your search history without a warrant if it passes through Congress.
Absolutely not. I think that people want to confuse the internet from us doing things in a brick and mortar way. In a brick and mortar way, if the police can't come to my home and get in without a warrant, it's the same door if you're getting into my world on the internet. I perceive it that way. So if you have a warrant to get in my physical home, the bricks and mortar home, you should have a warrant to get into my internet home because that is my access.
Do you really have an internet home, though? I mean, I think that is probably the discussion, and that is probably the fine line, that the Constitution prohibits illegal search and seizure. But that's for your, that's for your home.
Correct.
But that's your private property that you bought. The internet is open to everybody. That's free. It's almost like public property. And you don't have those same rights when you're out in public property, do you?
Absolutely. Just like my house has an address, I won't give it to you guys, and you drive down my street, my address is public, my building is public. So you can't go inside the building. So when I have a Facebook platform, and I have a Twitter platform, and I have an email platform, those are my platforms. So you can physically see them. If I post on Facebook, you can see it, but that account is mine.
But that's not your account, is it?
It is my account.
No, it's not. It's Google's account. It's Facebook's account. It's Twitter's account. They own it.
It's no different than my house. I pay property taxes in the city of Newark where I live. But that's my house. So even though the city of Newark owns the property around my building, you just can't come in there, well, you pay property taxes.
But if Twitter decided to give your information to the government, they could.
Then I would sue them unless there's some legislation in place where they're able to. And that's the debate now, isn't it? Are we going to allow them to do that? Now, if you did it now, I know they're probably doing it sneakily, but if you did it now without that being in place, then, and I found out, I would sue you.
Let's back up for a second. So Twitter owns the Twitter accounts.
Twitter owns the platform.
They own the Twitter accounts.
Correct.
Facebook owns the Facebook accounts. Google owns the Google Plus accounts. They have jurisdiction. You go there voluntarily and use their service. It would be like walking into Best Buy. Best Buy still owns the property. They still have the rights over the property. You're just using their product. If they chose to give your information to the federal government, they can do so.
And that would be a problem. If I used your platform in a way in which you felt it was improper or going away from your brand and you wanted to take my page down and say, Lisa, we don't want to do business with you anymore, that's different. But if you could sell my information to someone else, that's not the agreement.
If a private company does it, it's a lot different than the government doing it. If a private company wants to say to the government, hey, you should look at this, then the government can get involved because then they would have reason to. But the government shouldn't be the ones monitoring in the first place.
That's number one. But number two, it's still, if the private company is still profiling, that's a slippery slope as well. It's no different if I walked into a private company in brick and mortar way. If I walk into the mall, Livingston Mall, and you are the private company, you're profiling me, let's say my name is Rashida Muhammad, and I'm in your private company, and then you call the government. It's still a slippery slope. Did Rashida Muhammad do anything? Or is it based on just her name is Rashida Muhammad, and I'm a Muslim?
But if something happens, they're responsible.
Correct.
They're responsible, so they have to
Yes.
watch out for themselves.
Absolutely.
They have to cover their own
Right.
behinds.
So if I'm in there and I've got a suspicious bag or something, I lay it down, so that's the fine line. So if something happens, of course.
We got to go.
Oh my God, it's over already?
Thank you so much.
Hopefully, did I make an impact?
Lisa Durden has the blog, Lisa Durden, myworldmyway.com. She's a pop culture, social media expert, and you can see she's full of passion. You might want to read her stuff. Thank you so much for being here. Dawn is up next.